Because let me tell you what the purpose of the Libertarian Party is. It isn't to support Republicans. Well, hello everyone. I'm a bit later today than normal. It was an in the office day. As you could tell, I haven't even changed from work, but you know, I wanted to get a show out because my schedule has just been crazy busy. And I had said before, I had this cool Frank Zappa clip from the 80s. You may remember I played Mr. Grand Wizard before from the 80s because, you know, was it King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun? There certainly is nothing new under the sun. And what we're going through now is such a ratcheting up. But what is that phrase? What history doesn't repeat, but it echoes. This is a loud freaking echo of the moral majority vibes of the 80s is like coming back with a vengeance today. So that is some of what this clip is going to be. And I think Frank Zappa was on Crossfire. I think that's what it's from. But it's like in... what was it, 340 by, I mean, it's horrible video. So I'm not going to play the video full screen. I'm going to put it in a little screen on my window because the quality is so terrible. Now, I didn't even listen to the whole interview. I only listened to a part of it, and I'm like, that's a great thing to just react here to contemporaneously. So remember, I'd love to see you in chat. I had a lot of people, when I said I was going to be looking at a Frank Zappa clip, were like, oh, I love Frank Zappa. So before I forget though, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm just having a good time fascist baiting. And like, I'm not a person to use that term lightly. If you go back to the interview I'd done with Jeremiah Harding, was it even just 4 months ago? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I don't even think it was 4 months. And I was like, oh, I'm so reluctant to use that word. But each day you see it. Theocratic fascism, white nationalism, and I'm not usually the one who's going to be using those terms, but I know what I see and I know what I smell, and it ain't roses. Anyway, you can see that going on Twitter, so you can follow me there at Karen Ann Harlos. But last but not least, and it's not even last, and it's certainly not least, so not last and not least, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. There is bonus content and advanced views that do go up there. Before I forget, did want to mention my sponsor again. I do usually wait a few shows because I don't want you to get tired of hearing about the talented Sean Dempsey. But this is his latest book. As you know, I've been promoting his books for years. This is fiction based upon a true life story of the school incident in Uvalde. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Uvalde, Texas. You know me and names. we're not BFF, me and names. I'm going to mangle them. Also, Saturday, and I'm hoping Jake Porter can join me, but I'm not sure. We are going to go over. So I'm sorry, there's going to be a little bit of Libertarian Party inside baseball here, and it's only a little bit because I just found out a little while ago that I didn't even read the re-notice or the rehearing of the resolutions against Angela McArdle, that the wording was changed. So it's obvious that if these pass, the JC appeal is mooted. Now, Whether they'll go on with a hearing or not, I have no idea, because they never should have went on with my hearing, because when the charges were mooted in the Phillies appeal, my whole thing should have been moot and immediately restored. So who knows how they're going to handle. I wasn't going to go to it anyway, so they're going to do whatever they're going to do, and I guess that depends upon what happens on Sunday. My intuition is they have the votes to pass these resolutions, but I don't know for sure. I haven't hardly been paying, just said hardly twice. I have not been paying much attention to the LNC, and I'll show you that right now with what I'm going to say next. I skimmed the list, and when I read the resolutions that were going to be reheard, I thought it was the exact same resolutions, but Mr. Nikela reworded one of them, and this isn't a bad thing, so I'm not saying it. Believe me, I'm not a fan, as you know, of our current chair, but at least he hasn't embezzled from the party. But this isn't a slam. He reworded them, and the rewording was wise, but I didn't catch it at first. I heard about it on the LP Alliance show. It's like, oh, I didn't even notice that the wording was changed, and it's good. The new wording is better, but this brings full circle. Mr. Chatterton, one of the Region 1 representatives, and I can tell you, I know plenty of people in Region 1, he certainly does not represent. Now, is it the majority? I suspect it is. I suspect he is nowhere near close representing the majority of members in Region 1. Now, the chairs are a different matter, but as to the membership, I don't think so, but of course, that's just a gut feeling. I don't do Discord or any of that to participate in any of the polls, but I can, well, we'll talk about this on Saturday. So on Saturday, we're going to go over, he posted this, like, I don't want to call it a report, a memorialization of his objections to the Special Investigatory Committee report. And we're going to go through that on Saturday, and hopefully it will be with Jake Porter. Now that all of that is done with, let's go on to the clips. I think I have it on the next screen, and hopefully it will start playing, and we will start and stop as I have comments to make. And the reason why I paused there for a second, because I'm like doing it with the reverse screen. I'm not so sure how to pause it. Remember, this is not a professional operation. Okay, here we go.
Could I make a statement about national defense?
Yeah.
The biggest threat to America today is not communism. It's moving America toward a fascist theocracy. And everything that's happened during the Reagan administration is steering us right down that pipe.
Oh, Mr. Zappa,
Zappa.
Do you really think? I mean,
I really think that.
All kidding aside, in this country, with the progressiveness that we are moving toward a fascist theocracy, anything.
Yeah, so this is in the 80s. Yes, he saw it in the 80s. But what is so interesting is, forget about the terrible video. Like, how modern does this sound? Like, this could be said today. He was prescient that he saw the inevitable progression of this alleged conservative thought. Now, I'm not saying the left is any better. Quite obviously not. We experienced the leftist hellhole last term. You know, I would hope that we would learn that it all just sucks. But now we got to live in the present. Can't keep going but the left. They're not the ones holding the reins right now. We are going to speak to power as it is now. I spoke out against plenty of leftist crap. Now we're dealing with Trumpian crap. Okay, let's continue. Yes, we are moving to a fascist theocracy.
bet we are, but
Do you think things like this would have ever
give me
been
that famous
permitted?
smile again.
When we were 20, when we were kids, you're about my age, maybe
I'm
a little
45.
younger. Well, I'm 55. Do you think when I was a kid that they would permit songs like that to be sold? I mean, permissiveness is the game. I mean,
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
you're not really serious if you're saying we're going toward a fascist theocracy.
That's right, we are.
Wait a minute.
In what way? Give me one example.
Wait. One example of a fascist theocracy.
When you have a government that prefers a certain moral code derived from a certain religion, and that moral code turns into legislation to suit one certain religious point of view, and if that code happens to be very, very right-wing, almost toward Attila the Hun...
Well, then you are an anarchist. Every form of civil government.
Well, I don't know what he's going to say, but I'll say guilty as charged, because that's really the only system that honors freedom. But that's just so funny, where Frank Zappa was dealing with quote-unquote theocratic fascism. His whole comment was dealing with basing laws on a particular religious moral code. He was objecting to that. He wasn't objecting to all laws, but you'll notice the straw man. I don't know who this gentleman is who's next to him, but you'll notice the straw man that was hurled at him, mixing metaphors, is, well, then you're an anarchist. So if you don't believe in this theocratic type of system of basing laws based upon a certain religion's view, well, then you must not believe in any laws at all. Now, he didn't say that, and that's not what anarchy is anyway, but he didn't say that. But I just wanted you to notice the bait and switch there.
Is based on some kind of morality, Frank.
Morality in terms of behavior, not in terms of theology.
Do you think this country, you get around this country a lot, I'm sure, do you think that the lyrics of these songs reflect the real spirit of this country?
It reflects certain aspects of the spirit of this country.
You think it does?
Yeah, and see, if you don't like the spirit, then change the things that make the spirit happen. In other words, if you have kids that are rebellious, and you have kids who are hopeless, you have kids who go to drugs, then give them something to hope for.
Like what? What would you tell a kid he ought to hope for nowadays, Frank?
What I tell kids, and I've been telling kids for quite some time, is first, register to vote, and second, as soon as you're old enough, run for something.
And you really think that?
Oh, such an anarchist. He's telling people to register to vote. So they're not having the same debate. So I think what Zappa is saying, without using the words, is, basic laws based upon natural law, not based upon a particular religion's code, which is what we are seeing. And what we are seeing is let me see if I can find this tweet. I did it, and now I can't even remember what it was, because it wasn't words that were original to me. There was a show I was watching. I think it was Life Take Two on YouTube. And here it is. Christian nationalism is white supremacy masquerading as a Bible study. And I thought that was so on point. So it's a channel, Life Take Two. She was the one who actually came up with that quote. So I want to give credit to her. Okay, let's continue with Frank here.
It's going to give kids hope to tell them to go register for vote.
Mr. Zappa,
Well, I don't know whether it makes them commit suicide, but I think it gives them a little bit more hope.
Mr. Zappa, when you were testifying in Annapolis yesterday, I think, or this week at any rate, they had some kids from New York picketing outside who were from a school for the mentally disturbed, and they said that that rock music almost ruined their life. Rock music really disturbed them. Didn't that give you...
Oh, this is bringing back Parents Music Resource Center vibes. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is bringing back memories because, man, right around that time, those of you who don't know, in my misspent youth, I was a bass player in a thrash metal band in South Florida, and I remember doing those concerts of rock against censorship and things like that, because that was all spawned by Two Live Crew, who was out of Miami. And again, I was in South Florida, wasn't in Miami, was in Broward County, not Miami-Dade County. But boy, does that bring up yeah, Tipper Gore, the Parents Music Resource Center. Oh God, I remember those concerts we did. So you had Two Live Crew, but here's a blast from the past that I don't know if anyone here will remember, because this also happened in South Florida around that time. Is there were some, this is very dark humor, okay? Hope nobody gets offended. It's dark humor. But at that time in Miami, there were some German tourists that came and were murdered. And a band sprung up in South Florida called Dead German Tourists. So, uh, anyway, oh, oh, you're from South Florida. So were you there in the 80s? So at the time that, I was on the music scene there, uh, I've told the story multiple times. It's when Marilyn Manson was first starting out. It was Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids at that time, and they walked around with lunch boxes. And Raped Ape was somebody we played with quite a bit. Cynic, and I'm trying to think of what other bands were in South Florida at that time, but it was quite a hopping music scene, and there was a lot of thrash metal there. And also out of Florida, if you remember, was the band Death with Chuck Schumer. We went and visited Chuck at his home. I believe it was in Tampa. Now, that's before he passed away from brain cancer. And you might remember also the band Atheist, which was another thrash metal band. Well, my ex-husband, yeah, I remember Anne Bougalard. My ex-husband went on a European tour as the drummer for Atheist. I don't remember what happened to their drummer. Either he couldn't make the tour or they were between drummers. But yeah, my husband went on a European tour with my ex-husband, with Atheist. And I'm trying to think of what other bands were out of there. Boy, if you guys remember, we're really going back into like black metal and thrash metal history. If you remember Merciful Fate, then when King Diamond went off on his solo thing, the Cameo Theater was a big deal in Miami. Now, any of you from South Florida, I'm spitting facts, I'm spitting truth here. So King Diamond was playing at the Cameo Theater, and my band was one of the opening acts for King Diamond. And he was out in his trailer when we were warming up, and we were doing a Merciful Fate cover. We were doing a Dangerous Meeting, and apparently he came out of his trailer. So I really had, again, misspent youth. And who else was in Florida? Oh, Nasty Savage. They were also from South Florida at that time. I don't know how I guess it was just Frank Zappa talking about the censorship that was going on. So this guy here, Ski-Doo, I really don't wish to, because I have people trying to dox me and stuff like that, and I don't want people looking up my ex-husband and all of that. So I really don't care to, if that's okay. And that was 30-something years ago. Mr. Blue went, I don't know how many times King Diamond was at the Cameo, but you may have saw me if you were there for the opening acts. I want to tell you a funny story about the Cameo, since you know the Cameo. My mother and father were separated at that time, and they were having, I think, just a local show, like a bunch of local bands were playing. And I invited my father to come see us play. And I said it was at the Cameo Theater, in the Art Deco district on South Beach. And to him, that sounded kind of fancy. So he brought a date, and they're all in evening wear, okay? And this is like thrash metal, bunch of bands playing. And they're sitting in the front row. I think those of you who know where I'm going with this, they were sitting in the front row, and all of a sudden a mosh pit broke out. This is my dad. He knows nothing about this. So my dad tells the story later. He flings his arm up like to hold his date back, and he's like, hold on, the kids are beefing. And I'm playing, and I look down, and what do I see is my father's in the middle of the mosh pit. That was something. But the Cameo Theater was so awesome. I don't even know if it's there anymore. You guys could tell me, but I was forever in love with Art Deco. Okay, now we're going to get back to the kids are having a beef. My dad is super Italian, so you got to hear it in that like super, Italian way. The kids are having a beef. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to Frank Zappa here.
Some pause as to maybe you were making, if you might be in error on this question?
Well, see, you're in error as to where those kids came from. It's not a school for the mentally disturbed. There's a place called Freedom Village run by a man named Pastor Fletcher A. Brothers, a Christian organization. He collects money for it. They have a farm in upstate New York. I've dated Pastor Brothers on the radio before. I've also seen his literature. Basically, what he has done is taken the children who have come to his place for rehabilitation. I don't know where he gets them, who sends them, but he carts them around the country in the Freedom Village bus and makes them go in and testify as to all the bad things that happened to them before they came to his place, and then he connects it to rock music. Wait a minute. Yeah, but let me tell you some of the things that are included in this man's literature. He sends out this folder, it's about this thick, that has a list of different people in rock and roll, their names, their records, and their crime against humanity, so to speak. Some of the people who are included in this list are Stevie Wonder, and his crime is that he has an album that mentions astrology. In his folder, there are 2 or 3 mentions of astrology and maybe 3 or 4 mentions of Hinduism. He cites the Who because they had a...
Okay, we'll stop here. I remember that time. Like, I remember the Satanic Panic and everyone trying to play their records backwards and all of that. My God, this is bringing back memories. I remember when you had to, like, hide your Dungeons and Dragons gear because, that was allegedly the occult. And they were confiscating our advanced D&D, those hardback books, the Dungeon Master's Guides, and Deities and Demons, or whatever it was called, Deities and Demigods, I think it was called. We were hiding them in our lockers because, the school would confiscate them. Something I want to show you guys, if you don't believe me, though, people on Twitter have seen this, but I'll stick this up on the screen. This is me back in the day. I didn't have the pink hair, but, I think that's not an Mboogalard shirt. I would know, crap, I don't know if anyone recognizes that album cover, but there you go. And if you wonder why my hair looks so like weird on the side here, it's because the sides were shaved. So actually that was like a faux hawk. It wasn't like a full mohawk, but both sides were completely shaved so I could braid my hair back into like a mohawk style. But anyway, yeah, there you go. That's my Rudy Sarzo bass. That I covered in black electrical tape when he was playing with Quiet Riot. Alrighty. So yeah, I remember that panic from the religious folks on just the mildest thing. just the mildest thing. And Mr. Blue, no, I don't play bass any longer. This is I'm going to tie this into the LP for a minute. I'm the type of person who goes all in for everything I'm into. But when I'm done, I'm done. So once I decided I wasn't interested in doing the band thing anymore, I stopped playing and never looked back. Never looked back. Once I quit the band, got settled more into married life, nope, never picked up a bass again. That's just how I am. So I was laughing the other day when a certain harassing LNC member, somebody sent me a tweet he made and said that when I resigned the LNC, I was hoping they would beg for me to come back. No, honey, that's not how I operate. When I'm done, I'm done. And like I said to someone the other day, I wouldn't touch National right now with someone else's 10-foot pole. Now, that doesn't mean it isn't an option for the future, because I certainly haven't given up on the party. But when I was done with the LNC crap, no, baby doll. No, I was, you could have offered me a sweet sum of money and I would have been like, yeah, kiss my libertarian ass. Ain't happening. Okay, let's let Frank finish up.
A Hindu prayer on one of their albums, and I questioned him on the air.
Let me ask you about something you said.
No,
well, yeah, I want to talk now. You've talked for a little while, okay? I think your answer about where hope is supposed to lie shows the bankruptcy of what once used to be the radical message. We have millions of kids in this country, Frank, who may be suicidal, who see no meaning in life, who see no hope in life, and you're going to tell them that the hope is in registering to vote, Frank? Are you serious?
Are you trying to dissuade them from registering to vote? Are you just trying to dissuade those kids from running for office? Is that what you're doing?
I mean, we're talking about kids that don't know the meaning of life, Frank, and you're telling them to vote?
Are out of
That's no
time.
answer.
We want to thank Mr. Zappa.
Okay, so yeah, that I thought that was back up here. Here we go. So I thought that was an interesting clip. So what basically they're getting at is that we need to impose. Tell me this doesn't sound so modern. We need to impose these religious values so that people will find meaning in life, as if state-imposed Christianity, just cultural Christianity, because that's the religion obviously they were talking about, is somehow gives you genuine hope. No, I'm a Christian, so I obviously believe in Christianity. My Christianity gives me hope, but it wasn't imposed upon me by the state. That's not the way faith works. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. And I know some Christians will not like me for saying this and will say it's not real or whatever. I know plenty of non-Christians that seem to have hope in their lives too. I know plenty of atheists that do as well. You know, I'm kind of very chill about the whole thing. Didn't used to be, come from a fundamentalist background. Because what happened, here's what, ping pong. As I told you, my mom and dad were separated at that time, and just all kinds of trauma happened. I was painfully close to my mother. My mother passed away. And, at a very vulnerable point in time. And I was in a very Jekyll and Hyde marriage. So at a very vulnerable point in time, I got sucked into fundamentalist Christianity after this. Now, I'm still a Christian, but I'm not the way I used to be. I'm like super chill, and my attitude is, when it comes to other people and stuff, I got enough to worry about with myself and my own faith, and I just, cling on to the Bible verse, will not the judge of all the earth do right? So, God's got it handled. I don't need to worry about, freaking out what other people are doing. But we see this exact same thing now. they, oh my God, this is, I'm going to put this up on the screen. John Morrissey says, Frank Zappa's greatest reply. Announcer Frank, what song do you not want your kids listening to? Frank's reply was, We Are the World. Oh, and speaking of Frank Zappa, we're just reminiscing here, aren't we? Remember his daughter's song, Valley Girl? That, like, the best bass line in it. I love that song. It's still on my playlist, I think. Let me see if I have that. I'm not going to play it, but I'm just wondering if it downloaded to my phone. Like, gag me with a spoon. You youngins don't even know. That was so popular. That was Moon Unit, wasn't it? I can't type right now. Yep. It is on my phone. My God, that's funny. I do have that on there. So, yeah, the for your own good, creeping theocracy. Now, what wasn't going on in the 80s, though, and what's gotten very concerning today is the mixing in of the white supremacy and the white nationalism and the xenophobia. Now, maybe that was going on in the 80s. I do not remember that. But it is certainly prevalent now, and I'm looking at the comments. As a big Ronnie James Dio fan as well, and may he also rest in peace. I'm trying to think of the nightclub on Sunrise Boulevard we saw him at. He was a little guy. But yeah, Holy Diver was such a great album. Yeah, look out. Rainbow in the Dark. Anyway, yeah, so today it is scarily mixed with that. If you were following my Twitter today, there is this right-wing influencer. I don't remember her name. I think it's Mila Joy or something like that. Like delighting in ICE ripping apart a couple. A husband and wife. I don't know if they were legally married, but they considered themselves husband and wife. And like, if he really, and this man is crying and sobbing because they're taking his wife away. And this person was like, if he really loved her, he would have made sure he was legal. These people have lost their humanity. And I think all of us wonder, and I'm not trying to do that everything I don't like is Hitler type thing. But, anyone who studied history at all, I'm sure you have to wonder, I've always wondered, I wondered the same thing with the South, is how people let things get to that. So, Hitler wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's a little long enough ago, but not that long ago. And if you think that we are really that much different than just your average German person, we're not. We like to think we are, but we're not. If you think we're any better or different, now obviously there's been a big passage of time, culture has shifted and things like that, then you're average Southerner. You're fooling yourself. The fact is, if you, me, or anyone else, maybe not libertarians who are already very contrarian, but you pick just any random person and you put them in that culture, they would have been okay with slavery. Whereas we find that abhorrent today. So if you wonder, like, how did the average German person let things get so far to where they've otherized people so badly that you can view them as disposable, less than human, near animals. Just look around you. It's happening now. And it's not just immigrants or whoever the other is. There is also like a huge anti-Semitic element to it. And here's the thing. It's funny hearing that coming from me, that, and I don't mean funny like haha, because I'm not a Zionist. Like, I'm not a supporter of the state. I'm not a supporter of any state, but I'm not a supporter of the state of Israel. So this isn't coming from some like religious Zionistic thing, but it is just horrifying to me that I can be in the middle of arguing with someone and they're dead serious. They're not just a troll. I know on Twitter there's a bunch of trolls where you're arguing with them and all of a sudden they say to you, "You wouldn't happen to be Jewish, would you?" And it's like, the hair on my arms literally just stands up and I'm like, this is a dark, dark path we are treading where this just seems normal. You need to retain your humanity. Even if you're not like a libertarian anarchist like me, like you believe in the state or whatever, and you believe in strict border enforcement or anything like that, that's fine. But if your heart doesn't feel something when you see a wife being ripped away from her husband, you need to do a heart check, because there is just something deeply, darkly inhuman about that, and you need to regain your humanity. It really, really is scary what is going on. So that's the element that I don't remember from the 80s. So where they said history doesn't repeat itself, but it echoes, this is echoing in a much more accelerated and darker direction than I remember in the 80s. And I was, as I said, after I got into fundamentalist religion for a while, I actually went to, in Fort Lauderdale, the Reclaiming America for Christ conference. I used to be part of this. Didn't have this racist element, but the theocratic element, it most certainly did. And I'm just warning everyone, be cautious. And on that note, I am going to pick up Stephen Wolf's book, The Case for Christian Nationalism, and we are going to go through that. I listened to it on audiobook. That's not the same as reading. It's a different experience. I'm not saying it's, for studying, I think nothing beats a physical book. But for just gaining some information and trying to understand other people's points of view, audiobooks can be great. But this is something that I really want to sit and go through and underline. All right, I'm going to give it a few more moments for any comments, and otherwise, that will be it for this evening. I do want to, and somebody said Bunchy is gone. That's because I have my little studio program here. It's actually not a little program. It's quite a powerful program. Ecamm for a Mac, but you have to have a Mac to use it. So Bunchy is on this screen. I just did a scene change. You can set up scenes. So speaking of that, I want to put this back up here. I do encourage you to join my Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty, because what I'm going to be recording right after this. So we do book discussions on, it's mostly me talking, but like I interact with comments on Patreon. And the book I'm going through right now is From Mutual Aid to the Welfare State. And it really, really is a very good book. So, I'm going to be recording a discussion on the last chapter just read. I'll be recording that after this. So if you would like that, and all of the other past book discussions, the after shows that are patron only, and also my patrons do get advanced views of my other channels, which so you'll get Jurassic Dictionary in advance, and also the Pink Parliamentarian and in advance. I'm going to put up CK Nightlighter, who is new to welcome to the dark side. CK Nightlighter, we do have cookies. Anarchist cookies are the best. And there's a couple more comments. We'll do some more reminiscing. But so CK says, I've had debates with people who accuse me of being nationalist because I don't support my tax dollars funding Israel. I'm like, I don't support my tax dollars going to anything. Exactly. Especially foreign countries. We could get into a whole Israel show at another point, going back to the niqab and the issues where I don't care what anyone thinks about Islam or which religion they think is superior. I don't care about any of that. There were already people living there, and you can't just come in as other countries and go, bam, we're going to give it to this group of people. Like, can you imagine, England gets together with Germany and decides, well, I'm just going to pick my, that Colorado belongs to the Native Americans, and you all just got to go. You just got to go. And you don't think we'd be a bit bitter about that? We would be a bit bitter. And Nathan, muy bien, too? Okay, so I didn't see Ronnie James Dio, Mr. Blue was saying, at the Sunrise Musical Theater. It was actually at a nightclub. And it wasn't Penrod's on the Beach, because it wasn't on the beach, but it was by the Fort Lauderdale Strip. It was as you're going east on the north side of the road, and I can't remember what it was. It was a huge nightclub that was really popular down there. It was by the Galleria Mall. Okay, this is all South Florida stuff for those of you who know. Now I got to figure out how to take that comment down. But I did see Ronnie James Dio for the short amount, and it was at Sunrise, but he wasn't solo. Do you remember and I don't think I'm mixing up my singers. I'm pretty sure it was Dio. For the one album called Born Again, that he was a part of Deep Purple. I don't know if anyways. I saw the Born Again tour at Sunrise Musical Theater, and that's a weird album if you haven't heard it. And by the way, just going off on music, wasn't Richie Blackmore with Deep Purple? If you're into like Renaissance type music, if that's the way to put it, like almost Renaissance fair type music, but like you loved Richie Blackmore's guitar playing, there is this awesome band that he's still in now, and they actually do run fairs, Blackmore's Night, and they do a great version of Diamonds and Rust, which was also covered by Judas Priest, by the way. And I did see Judas Priest at the Hollywood Sportatorium. It was Ian Gillan. That's it. You were at that show? I was at that show. This is so funny that we were in the same thing. Were you ever out at the Hollywood Sportatorium? So I saw Ozzy Osbourne on the Bark at the Moon tour there. I saw Iron Maiden on the Peace of Mind tour there. I saw Wicked Sister there. Oh, wow. Anyway, yeah, it was Ian Gillan. Wasn't Born Again? That was such a weird album. So anyway, Nathan, perhaps, yeah, you can have Fina get in touch with me. I asked the committee still needs to vote on it, but I think Susan Hogarth is going to be heading up that committee. I did not see Slayer. At least I don't think so. I never saw Slayer in person. So, and I'm trying to think of who else I saw at the sport. God, I was at so many concerts at the Sportatorium. I remember outside they were always selling those bootleg t-shirts, and on the Peace of Mind tour, I bought a bootleg made in Japan t-shirt that I still have upstairs. I'm gonna need to bring that down for another show. But yeah, I loved that t-shirt so much, and it was the baseball jerseys because those were all the rage. Oh yeah, but the Hollywood Sportatorium was one of the best places for concerts. But I'm trying to think of who else. I didn't see Van Halen at the Sportatorium. I did see Judas Priest. I don't know if was it the Screaming for Vengeance tour. Oh, I saw AC/DC there. I used to go to a lot of concerts. Nathan, Susan is chairing. Well, this isn't official yet. I asked her if she'd be willing to. The committee needs to vote on it. That is my recommendation, that she would be chairing the subcommittee of the Memorial Committee. She's done it before. Oh, I saw I saw Scorpions there. Crap, what was the name of that album? Oh. Well, I did see them there. I saw the Scorpions there as well. And I think I saw Quiet Riot there, but they were opening for someone. I don't remember who they were opening for. Okay, everyone. So anyway, that was just a heads up that whatever is old is new again. And we are indeed heading back into the Christian fervor for encoding that into law. And we as libertarians, you can have that as your personal preferences, but we shouldn't want to be using the power of the state to enforce that upon other people. All right, everyone, I am going to get going, and again, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I'm going to get this recorded, this next chapter, tonight, and probably have it on Patreon tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone. If you wonder why I keep looking over there, I have another screen, and that's like my control screen. I should use my Stream Deck, but I just never really got the hang of it. Okay, bye-bye.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they